Hello, my crafty friends. Well, today is actually a continuation of the video I did on Sunday, my Sunday morning live. I'm going to show you some additional card ideas featuring this month's paper pumpkin kit called Lots of Pun. Hi, it's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. In this episode of Stamptastic TV, I have 6 different additional card ideas to share with you, featuring some of the fun images from the December 2021 paper pumpkin kit, which is called Lots of Pun. Now, this is a super adorable kit, and so I just had to create more cards to share with you today. Now, if you didn't catch my Sunday morning live, these are the 2 cards that I shared with you that day. So if you missed that video, you can certainly watch the replay by clicking on the link featured in the description below this video. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to share the actual kit cards from this month's paper pumpkin kit. So these are the cards that we created as part of the kit. So the kit contained everything we needed to create 9 different cards, so 3 of each of the 3 different designs. So they're just super cute. And I decided to actually use my own cardstock to create this particular card, only because I saved the card bases that came from the kit. I saved them to create just some different card ideas because I really like that watercolor background. So anyways, these are the first 2 cards, and then here's the 3rd card. So these are just super cute. The kit was a lot of fun, so I had a lot of fun putting together the alternate ideas that I'm going to share with you today. So this is the stamp set that came in the kit. So I'll be using this stamp set to create all the cards that I'm sharing with you today. And it just has a lot of really funny little sayings that, of course, go with all the different fruits and things that are in this particular kit, the images in this kit. So one of the things I wanted to show you about this stamp set is that there's some outline images here. So I have those already on my blocks, and I'm going to use my Early Espresso ink. So the kit came with an Early Espresso Stampin' Spot, but I'm just going to use my ink pad. So you'll use these outline images. So if you got the kit, you're going to use these outline images just to stamp over the top of the little pieces that come in the kit. So you can see how stamping that outline just makes this little piece of toast stand out. Same thing with the egg. There's an outline image for the egg. So when we stamp this on the egg, then it just gives a really nice crisp image. Same thing with the cherries. So these are from, these little cutouts are actually from the kit. So this is what it looks like when you stamp those little outline images over the top of the pieces that come in your kit. Now you can also stamp these little outline images on just a scrap piece of white cardstock and then just color them in with your favorite coloring tools. So for example, this one I just stamped the banana image using the Early Espresso ink, and then I just colored it in with my Daffodil Delight Stampin' Blends, and then just cut out the image so that I could use it on the card. So you can do that with all of the images in this kit, so it's super fun. Okay, so we'll start out with these 2 cards first. So we'll use the banana images to create these cards. Now, if you don't have the paper pumpkin kit, don't worry, you can still use these layouts, and you can use any supplies that you have on hand to create these cards. So don't get too hung up on, you know, the little bananas and things that I'm using. I'm sure you have lots of supplies on hand that you can use with these particular card layouts. All right, so let's get started. We'll start with this card. So you're going to start with a piece of white cardstock for the base of your card. So all of my cards that I'm sharing today are standard card size. So this is 5.5 by 8.5, and it's scored down the center at 4¼ inches, and that's how you create the base of your card. Next, I cut a piece of designer paper, which is 3¼ by 5.5 inches. And then I cut a piece of Granny Apple Green cardstock. So this one's slightly larger at 3.5 by 5.5 inches. So I'm just gonna adhere these 2 together. All right, so once you have these pieces adhered together, then you can just go ahead and adhere them to your card front. And I kind of offset it a little bit, you know, kind of put it more over to the right side of my card front instead of directly down the center. And then I'm using one of the new Heart and Home doilies, so I'm super excited that we're coming back with these doilies. So the cool thing about these doilies, they come in 3 colors, but I'm going to be using the white side. So you can use the colored side or you can use the white side. I'm going to just use the white side. So we'll just adhere this right to our designer paper. And then I cut out some layering circles, one from Granny Apple Green and the other just from white. So this particular circle is about 2 1/4 inches, the scalloped one, and then this one layers inside, so it's just under 2. So we'll just layer these together. So if you're using the layering circle dies, that's perfect. That's what I use to create this. And then we'll just go ahead and adhere these to the center. And then I've already stamped my little bananas. So we're just going to add some dimensionals to these, and then we'll just layer them on the card. And then I just stamped a little greeting, and actually this is a leftover piece from the kit, so I just stamped it on there and just added this to the card. Then the last thing I did is just cut a 3/4 inch wide and 3 1/4 inch long piece of designer paper, just a different pattern, and put it just across the bottom. And then of course you can add some twine. On this one I added a little bit of twine, or you can leave it plain like this. Okay, the second card is another pretty simple layout, so I'll share the dimensions with you. So the first thing I did is just cut a 3/4 by 3/4 inch piece of designer paper. And then I cut a 2 1/2 by 4 inch piece of Granny Apple Green cardstock. So this is just going to go behind the designer paper like this, and then we'll adhere it to the card front. So we'll just add some glue right down the center. So just kind of center it on that Granny Apple Green, and then we'll go ahead and adhere these pieces to the card front. So you can really add some depth and dimension just simply by layering your pieces together. Then I cut a 3 by 3 inch piece of vellum, and so I'm just going to add some glue across the front here. And a little tip for you, you can kind of scoot this back and forth, and you'll notice that your glue lines will disappear. So just a little tip for you. All right, so we got our vellum on there. I just wanted to mute it a little bit. The next thing I did is I used one of the leftover pieces from the kit. It seemed to fit perfectly on this 2 1/4 inch Granny Apple Green circle. So I'm just going to add some glue and put this in the center here. And then we'll add this to our card front. Then we'll just go ahead and add a couple little dots down here, some of the splatter image. Just using some Pool Party ink, we'll add it in the top, on the top and the bottom. And then I've already colored in the banana, but this time I'm going to add a little smiley face. So one of the cute things about this particular kit is that you can put little faces on these different images. So I want to add my greeting kind of off to the side there. So I'm just going to lay it on there. So you can just stamp a greeting on a scrap piece of white cardstock. This one's about 1/2 inch wide. And then just trim off the ends based on how long your greeting is. So we'll add that little smiley face banana there. And then we'll add our greeting. And that's it. Super cute and pretty simple. Okay, these next couple of card ideas feature the little cherry images from the set. So I just used some designer paper that I have on hand. This is actually the Host designer paper, designer series paper, and this is a new celebration paper. So we'll start with this card. So I started with a piece of Pool Party cardstock for the base of my card. Then I cut a 5 by 4 1/4 inch piece of designer paper, and I'm just layering that right across the card front. And then I'm again using those doilies. I'm just using the back side of this doily, the white. So I'm going to add this kind of off to the side here. And then I have some new 3/4 inch wide white ribbon that I'm going to be using. So I cut this piece at 4.5 inches. So this is just going to go right across the bottom here. I'm not going to glue that on just yet. Then I just took a piece of Granny Apple Green cardstock. So this is, it was 1 inch wide and it's 4.25 inches long. I just tore it in half and I'm just using one of the halves. So I'm going to add this piece first because I want this piece to go over the top of the doily on the bottom here. So we'll add that. And then we'll go ahead and add our ribbon. So we'll just add some glue to this ribbon. So this is a great way to use your larger ribbon. You can just kind of use it like a piece of designer paper on your card. And then I again have 2 layering circles. So I have a white circle and then I have my 2.25 inch in diameter circle that was done in Pool Party. So I'm just going to layer these 2 together and then I'm just going to add this to the card. Except for I'm going to add a couple dimensionals up on the top here. And this other part where I put the glue, that's what's going to be on the ribbon. And then I'm going to be adding the little cherry image. So I just stamped this on a scrap piece of white cardstock using that early espresso ink, and then I just colored it in with some stamping blends. So I used my Poppy Parade stamping blends and Granny Apple Green to color that. And then the last thing, well, almost the last thing, I stamped a little greeting on a piece of white cardstock, just using the early espresso ink. And then I'm just adding this to the bottom here. For the finishing touch, you can just add some embellishments. I'm just using up some of my matte dots. So we'll add these. Okay, so that's it. Another just super cute card idea. Okay, for this second card idea, I switched to some Granny Apple Green cardstock for the base of my card. So the first thing I did is just cut a piece of designer paper. It doesn't matter necessarily how wide it is. It should be about 1.25 inches. I think this one is 1.5 inches wide, and it's 3.25 inches long. So that's going to go on the left side of our card front. The next thing I did is cut a 2 by 5 inch piece of designer paper, and I just snipped the bottom into a banner. And so we will adhere this to the card. So this is just going to overlay onto this part of our designer paper. Then I'm using another one of these doilies. You can see I really love these doilies. I have a thing for doilies. So we'll add that. And then I have my Pool Party and white circle. So we'll add these, layer these 2 together, and then we'll layer this. And then I'm just using up one of the leftover pieces from the kit, one of the extra cherries that I had. But you can easily use, create your own by stamping your own. And then the last thing I did is I just stamped a greeting on a scrap piece of white cardstock. And then I'm just going to cut this out, just using my scissors. So I'm just going to cut out the words. I'll cut in between them. And then you can just trim them down. Okay, so I just cut out all the words, and now you're just going to arrange them kind of off to the side here on the card. And I popped them up with a little dimensional. So we'll just kind of alternate them as we add them. You can see I angled that one upward, and then we'll angle this one downward, and then we'll angle this one. So it's just a fun way to use your greetings or your sentiments. And then for the finishing touch, we're just going to add some of these little dots. So we'll add some down on the bottom here, some of this little splattered image. I love the splattered images because it just adds so much to the card. So there you go. Super cute. Okay, and these last two card ideas feature the little eggs. So I think these are like just really adorable, especially with the smiley face. So let me show you how to create these cards. So we'll start with this card. So we're starting with a piece of white cardstock for the base of our card. Then just cut a 1.5 by 4.5 inch piece of designer paper. So I'm using some designer paper from the Brights collection. You can use any designer paper that you want. Next, just cut a 3/4 by 5 inch piece, and this one's gonna go off the right side. So notice how I adhered this one to the left. This one's gonna come off the right side. Then cut a 1/2 inch by 4 inch piece of a different pattern paper. And we're gonna lay this one on top of this blue one. And then before I get too carried away, I'm gonna add just a little splatter image up on the top here. And I'm using Daffodil Delight. And we'll add a little on the bottom. And then you're just gonna take a 1/2 inch by 3 inch piece of Pool Party cardstock and just snip the end into a little banner and put that right up on the top here. And then I just cut well, actually I didn't cut this. Shouldn't say I cut this. I'm using a leftover piece of vellum from the kit, and it's about a 2¼ inch circle shape, so that's gonna go here. And then I just cut out my little egg images, so I stamped these on a scrap piece of white cardstock using Early Espresso ink, and then I just colored in the center using my Daffodil Delight Stampin' Blends. So there are smaller faces. There's like 2 different size faces in this kit. So you want to use the smaller one for these. And it's so cute. That just adds so much to it. Okay, so I just added some dimensionals to the back. Then we can go ahead and add one up here. And we can add one right about here because we want to leave some space for our greeting. And so just stamp your little greeting on a scrap piece of Daffodil Delight cardstock and then just add that right around that little egg. This is just so super cute. This is like my favorite card. Okay, let me show you the last one. All right, so here is the last card that I have for you. So this one we're going to start with a 1.5 by 5.5 inch piece of designer paper. So we're just gonna adhere that to the left side of the card front. And then I cut a 2 by 5 inch piece of Granny Apple Green cardstock, snipped the end into a banner, and then just embossed it with the painted texture embossing folder. You can use any embossing folder you want. And then I have a 1.5 by 3¼ inch piece of this blue designer paper. And so basically, this is going to lay on my card so that the center of this banner is on the edge of my yellow paper here. And then this piece is gonna kind of tuck underneath there. So what I wanna do is adhere these, this piece to this green one. So we'll add some glue there. And I like to line it up a little bit to make sure I have it where I want it. That looks pretty good. And then you can go ahead and adhere it to the card front. Then I just decided to use a leftover scrap piece. So it's 3/4 inches wide, and I cut it down to about 2 inches just to add a little bit more color on the card. And of course, I have another doily here, so we're gonna add that. And then our little layering circles, we'll add these. So this is Pool Party cardstock and white cardstock. So it just makes a really nice focal point in the center of that doily. And then of course we have to add our little faces to these little guys here. All right, so we can layer these together kind of up towards the top part. And then for the finishing touch, we'll just add our little greeting on here. Oh, and we have one more thing to do. We got to add our little splatter image down on the bottom. So there you go, super cute. I love these little eggs. Have an excellent day. So that is card number 6. Okay, so there you go. Now you have 6 additional card ideas that you can create using some of the fun images from this month's Paper Pumpkin Kit. And if you do not have this month's kit, you can certainly use these designs with any supplies that you have on hand. And if you enjoyed these card ideas, feel free to download the printable tutorial. You can find the link in the description below this video. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by liking it and sharing it with your friends. And leave me a comment below to let me know what you enjoyed most about the video and the cards shared here today. Have a fun and creative day, my friends. Take care.